Mr. Salazar, the laboratory is very interested in getting information of the people that were at Los Alamos during the Manhattan Project. Can you tell us when you first went to work at Los Alamos? What year?
1945, I guess, or late 44.
Okay. When you went to work at Los Alamos, where did you work at the first, what was your first job at Los Alamos?
First job at Los Alamos was maintaining the power to the system, you know.
Where did the power come from when you first went there?
When I first got there, the one power there yet, they used to have this diesel turbines, just to generate power there to, I call it the power plant.
And who did you work for when you went to work at Los Alamos?
Reynolds Electric.
How did you commute to Los Alamos when you first worked there?
Well, I first started in Santa Fe in 1944, and I guess in summertime. I don't remember exactly when I started. That's when they started building the first power line to Los Alamos.
Okay. Where did the power come from?
Santa Fe.
Santa Fe. The power came from Santa Fe?
Santa Fe, yeah. Actually, it came from Albuquerque, but it had a substation in Santa Fe. From there, they distributed to Los Alamos.
Okay. From Santa Fe, did you help build the entire lines to Los Alamos?
Right.
From Santa Fe, where did you go through?
Went to Buckman.
Santa Fe, Buckman,
to White Rock.
White Rock.
Into Los Alamos.
How many months did it take to get the power line built?
That'd be hard for me to remember, but it took about, roughly, I imagine it took about 4 or 5 months.
And then when you worked at Los Alamos, were you involved with the power distribution at Los Alamos?
Right.
So you got to know every place in Los Alamos,
right.
Every building, every site?
Well, every site and practically every building, yeah, but I don't remember the building numbers now. No. But we used to run the power to the outside now. And then from there, the inside electricians would take it into inside the building.
First of all, you worked for Reynolds Electric, and
right.
Did you have another employer after Reynolds Electric?
Not that I remember. Not really another employer.
Oh, Reynolds Electric was at Los Alamos. There was another contractor at Los Alamos that you worked for.
No, from the Reynolds Electric, I went to work for the post engineers.
Post engineers, okay.
Right.
Do you remember some of your supervisors?
Yeah, my foreman was Marvin Coons. And I had another working foreman at the time was Matt Mitchell.
Mitchell. How did you commute to Los Alamos from the Española Valley? Because
well, I stayed went to Los Alamos, stayed in Los Alamos at a dorm.
A dorm, okay.
Dorm.
And then, if you ever commuted to Española, how did you commute?
In the bus.
A bus? Okay.
Whenever I got to Española.
These were Army buses, right?
Right, Army
And
buses.
do you remember any of the drivers?
No, I sure don't.
No.
To be honest with you.
Yeah. Okay. Do you remember when the building started changing at Los Alamos?
Yep. I remember when they started tearing up the sun apartments. Waterman, he's the one that made the money on tearing up the buildings. Start selling them out.
Do you remember when the western area was being put in?
Yep.
Okay.
The contractors built a the main lines to the western area. I don't remember the contractor's name now, but
Okay.
then we took over it and doing the maintenance on it, you know.
Was the western area the most modern part of Los Alamos
Right,
then?
right,
Okay.
right.
And then what happened later? What community came later?
Then the North Community.
North Community.
North Community, yeah. We started building North Community.
Okay. And you became very familiar with all the streets and all the
Right.
places where.
Right. We had to, because we had a car, we had to go to a certain place and a certain address. And
Do you remember when they put in the administration building at Los Alamos?
administration building south of yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you remember, was that the biggest building in Los Alamos then?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Do you remember anything after the test at Trinity site?
The test on the Trinity site?
Yes, after they tested the bomb in Alamogordo.
No.
No.
I don't. We don't.
Do you remember anything when the war ended? What was going on at Los Alamos?
Well, we were working up there in the western area when we got word that the war ended. No. So we all got in our, what we call a line truck, and some of us workers got on top of the cab, no, and we're coming through Trinity there. Oh, we're pretty happy, all of us pretty happy, and so we come pretty close to that underpass that used to be in Trinity there, you know, went into the tech area. If it hadn't been for a friend of mine that knocked me back, I wouldn't have been here today. I was standing up and then.
Okay. How many years total did you work at Los Alamos with power distribution?
The power distribution, I worked up there until 1992.
19. And what, did you start as an apprentice when you first?
I started as a labor when I first started in the
Labor.
labor on that, from San Fe to Los Alamos on that line.
You were a laborer, and then were you ever an apprenticeship?
And I worked for myself what they call a grumman. A grumman is a guy that gives the lineman up a pole of material.
Yeah.
It's a hand line.
And then?
Then I went to an apprentice.
Apprentice.
Apprentice lineman.
Look, apprentice lineman.
Right.
And then you became a full-fledged lineman.
Then I made a journeyman lineman, yeah.
And then were you ever a supervisor?
Yes, my foreman I had quit in 1966 and took a job as assistant business agent for local 611 Albuquerque. And I got his job.
And you were the foreman?
I was the foreman then, yeah.
And since you know so much about the power distribution in Los Alamos, have they ever called you to find out where things are? Or did they ever want you to be serve as a consultant?
No, not a consultant, no.
But they always were they calling you for information?
Right, every time we had an outreach, I had to be out there. What are your overall impressions of Los Alamos and what it has done for the people from the valley? Well, I think they've done some good. They've done some good. I don't think being for Los Alamos, I don't know what happened to the valley in my books.
Anything you?
Well, you want to But the time we built up antenna up in the Bronco Mesa, we call it antenna with 120-foot poles that communicate from Los Alamos to Inuita. And I also remember good when the water supply to Los Alamos. First water supply from Los Alamos was from Wahi Canyon. And in winter time we used to spend several nights out there trying to throw out the line, you know, so we can get some water to Los Alamos. We used to have generators. We used to change generators from one spot to another one so we can throw up the line. So they also had a supply from Los Alamos Canyon. We had water supply from there too.
Could you tell us a couple of maybe one or two of the funniest things that happened to you while you were working in Los Alamos all these years?
The funniest thing?
Funny.
Well, I don't know actually what I could tell you on that.
Or what was the strangest thing you ever saw when you were working?
The strangest thing I seen up there, I've seen a man electrocuted, lineman electrocuted. We're supposed to have an outage on that line, you know, so we could tighten up hardware and so forth. And so they had a lateral coming in there that they didn't know it was hot. So this man tried to climb up there and he got his head in one of the cutouts. It was energized and went down to the ground and naturally broke his neck and back.
And where did that happen at? What location?
That happened just before you go down in Omega Canyon. To the right there.
And Mr. Salazar, how many of your children work at Los Alamos?
Now they work, I got three of them working up there.
Three.
Three girls.
Do all your children work for the lab?
Yeah.
Did any of your children follow as being linemen like you?
Well, one of my boys, but actually two of them started started working on the as a groundman, so, but they didn't like it.
Oh, so three of your children still work at Los Alamos?
Right.
Okay. So Los Alamos has been very good to your
Very
family.
good.
What did the girls do at Los Alamos?
I couldn't tell you. I worked in the office.
Had to try them.
You didn't want to know about when we start putting the underground? Now we start putting that power underground, and well, I guess we started in the 50s, making manholes and running, and then making splices in the underground. You know, getting rid of some of the overhead lines, you know, and putting it underground.
Yeah.
But that was a good project there too.
Yeah. When they had all the power of overhead,
Yeah.
when did you start getting modern equipment like cherry pickers?
Oh, cherry picker, we got our first one in 1972. It was called a giraffe. One bucket. That's the first time we got a bucket.
So you spend many days, many hours up on the poles.
Yeah, actually, I was already a foreman, so the lineman used to relamp street lights and do some work out of them. Because they could only work one man out of it at that time.